We have fire. I think it's burning down pretty good now. Hello, Bill here with Pale Horse Survival and Tactical. Glad you could join me for another episode. Today we're going to take a look at the ghost pine. Stay tuned. Hey, welcome back. We have in front of us here is the ghost pine, also known as the gray pine. These trees don't have the typical conical pine shape to them. They have more of a traditional tree shape. This is a tree that's native to the west coast of the United States, and it was a very valuable food source to California native people. There's 3 pines that produce pine nuts that are big enough to warrant expending the energy to collect them, and this is one of them. The nuts are a pretty good size. The other 2 would be the sugar pine and Pinus lambertiana, and the pinyon pine, which is on the eastern side of the Sierras. I'm currently on the western side of the Sierras right now, so this is the tree that I'm going to profile. The Pinus sabiniana is the Latin name. The core of the very young green cones, when they're very, very small, you can take those cones, you can roast them on hot coals, and the cores will become soft. Roast them for about 20 minutes. The cores become soft and kind of sugary and syrupy, and they are edible. They were consumed by the native people here. The trees usually grow in a leaning manner. You usually don't see them too upright. Here's another one over here on the other side. You can see how they kind of lean in a way. It's not a hard and fast rule. Here's one over here. This one's vertical. That's just one way of identifying these. There's a few more back here in the back. Those are gray pines there. Apologize for the helicopter here. Another one back here in the distance. And they call them a ghost pine because the needles are really wispy and kind of airy. Here's a small one over here. Get over here and take a look. These are all on the side of a hill here, so it's a little difficult to get to. Try and get up close. Give you guys a closer view. Here's a very small one here. They're very wispy needles. They're not dense like traditional pines. And here's the one we were just looking at. You can see how you could just you see through it. Down here and take a peek. This is a close-up. This is a young seedling here, and the gray pine is a 3-needle pine. So you have 3 needles in the bunch here. Three needles. It's one way to identify this pine. You can see how sparse the needles are. They're not. They don't grow real thick on this particular pine. The pitch of this pine was used as chewing gum by some of the native people here. The cones are 6 to 10 inches long. They're heavy and bulky. They mature in the fall of the second year, but may remain attached for years. They open gradually and release seeds over a long period of time. Reading off some notes here. And the cambium layer, just as all pines and the majority of trees, the cambium layer is edible. You can eat it raw or cooked, and also you can make tea out of the leaves, as you can with all the other pines. Let's go ahead and take a peek at some cones here. Stay tuned. Yeah, I'm on my way around to the other side here to the tree, and I ran across another native plant here that was used by the native people of California. This is called toyon, and these berries here, the native people would make a very refreshing beverage. You can make jellies out of these, and I already have an identification video of this particular botanical on the channel, which you can look up, but just want to briefly go over this. You look for the serrated leaf margins here, and the leaves are very, very thick, almost leathery feeling. But this thing is just covered with the berries. There's so many wild edibles around. If you know what you're looking for, it's really hard to starve if you know your plants out here. Stay tuned. I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. I gathered up a few pine cones that are beneath the base of this. Most of these trees in this particular locale are on the sides of very steep slopes, so getting to the cones is a bit difficult. Here's some cones here, but it's right on the edge of this very steep incline, so it'd be very hard to get those. And there are some others up here. I'm right underneath the tree. You can see the cones up here. And if you do some climbing, or if you have a long stick, if you're trying to knock those out of there to get the nuts, you could try it that way. Just be careful, you're going to try and climb. There's quite a few of them here, and I'll give you a close-up view of the bark. The wood grows in a twisting manner. Not a typical pine, and that's what the bark looks like. And that is the ghost pine. We're going to go back to the few cones that I gathered up and take a look at a couple of the pine nuts. Stay tuned. Hey, welcome back. I've gathered up some cones here. Give you a size perspective. These are really heavy, bulky cones, and I'm not sure if the camera is going to pick this up. There it is. There is a pine nut right down in there. These are decent size nuts, so you'll get a pretty good return on the calories that you invest. Let's see if we can dump this nut out of here. There it is. Now these cones are on the ground. The scales have opened and released a lot of the seeds. I see a couple more in here. It's another one down inside here. I'm trying to give you some light here. There it is. You can just see the tip of it down inside the scales there, right on the end of my thumbnail. So even though these are open and have released a lot of their seeds, there's another one, you can still find pine nuts if you can get to these. One just fell out. These are good size. You can still find pine nuts. If you can get to these while they're on the tree just before they open, you'll have your greatest chance of getting a pretty good harvest. Getting the cones out of the tree, that's the hard part. So you can use a long pole or a stick. You could try climbing. Be very careful if you do that. You take those cones and you can roast them on the coals of or next to a campfire, and the heat will dry them out, and the scales will open up and release the seeds. But if you don't have that option, you can gather them up off the ground and get you pretty good. I'm sitting here looking at these in front of me while I'm talking, and I'm seeing more seeds in here. There it is, right off the end of my thumbnail there. You can see the tip of it right there. So you can take a rock, you can smash these. There's another one right there, right on the end of my, right down inside there. It's got the little papery sheath on it. Oh yeah, this one's has more. I just dumped that one out. Any that are stuck down in there that you seem to be a little difficult to get to. Here's one right here. Right here. You can put these on a flat rock and smash them. To get down to the seeds. Now these seeds can also be warned if you're going to harvest pine nuts and you're going to handle these cones. They're covered with resin, so your hands are going to get sticky in a hurry. You can't just eat these seeds, they're in a hard shell. Just like any other kind of nut. We'll put these down here on the ground and pull out my trusty Leatherman rebar. These are really, really hard. You can crack them on stones. And I lost half of it, went flying. You can put it on a stone and use another stone as a hammer and crack them open that way. But you can see how thick the shells are. Probably better to crack them on a stone with the pliers. It cracked and part of it went flying. But this is the nut meat on the inside, and that can be eaten raw or you can roast it, whichever you prefer. It's got a nice flavor. Piney. Very crunchy. Try another one here, see if we can. And the interior went flying. Here's the other half down here on the ground. I seen it fly out of my hand. It'd probably be better to put these on a rock. And matter of fact, I think I'm heading up to the bushcraft camp, so I'll take some of these seeds up and then try fracturing that shell with a hammer stone, so I'll do that as a conclusion to this video and see if that works a little bit better. The problem with the pliers is once it fractures, everything goes flying. So that is the half of the nut there. They have a really good flavor to them. Actually really good, very crunchy. And so I'm going to go ahead and harvest a few out of here, and I shall return. Stay tuned. Hey, welcome back. I'm up here at my bushcraft camp in much higher country, so I'm up above the range that the ghost pine is found in. I'm up in coniferous forests up here, ponderosa pine, incense cedar, and firs, Douglas firs and grand firs. So anyways, I have a stone set up here, and the pliers just weren't working. By the time it breaks through the shell, these nuts are they're dry and brittle. So when it breaks through, it kind of crunches it and everything goes flying everywhere. So let's see if we can lightly fracture the shell here. And I'm thinking if we do it on, let's do it on its end here. Let's see what happens. This is how I usually do acorns. Whoop. Acorns on the end. A little difficult to grab a hold of it here. Well, there it goes. You can probably hear the crack. That's how I usually process acorns. And there's the nut on the inside. Here's the shell. Whoop. In the shadows here, sorry about that. And there is the shell. So don't take these once you extract them from the cones and pop it in your mouth and think you're going to eat these fresh out of the cone. You'll crack a tooth. And here's the nut. Well, I got nasty shadows here covering up what I'm trying to show. Try it this way. Trying to get out of the shadows here. There's the nut. And there's the shell that it came out of. Get hold of it here. So that method seemed to work pretty good. I'm just putting everything over here on a little log on the side. So how I process, I have an acorn processing video on the channel too. You can find it on there. I did a complete tutorial on processing acorns and using the cold water leaching technique, which preserves all of the valuable oil. I don't like the hot water technique, the boiling. But you can find that on there, and that's how I do acorns. I put them on a stone, and with a hammer stone, I put them on their edge and hit them and crack them. There it goes. You hear that? You hear that crack, and that's your cue to stop, so you don't destroy what you're doing there. If I get this out of here, there's a membrane in there that it's stuck on, and this one's kind of, nut's actually kind of deformed. It's not very good. I'm only going to do a couple here for demonstration purposes. I usually start out kind of soft and increase the intensity until I hear the crack. I thought I heard a crack, but I didn't. There it goes. Well, maybe not. There it goes. I felt it blow out the side here against my thumb. Yeah, some of these look like they yeah, this one's no good. Looks like fungus got to it. If the seed comes out looking healthy, that's a good one. If it's discolored black, just doesn't look right, don't try to consume it. That one fell right apart. And this one looks like it's probably, yeah, it's probably okay. It's a little on the dark side. I don't know, it's kind of iffy. That's probably consumable. They have a pretty high resin content, so they tend to be, this particular nut from the ghost pine tends to be a little darker in color. That one fell apart pretty easy. And yeah, this one's pretty dark. I don't think I would try eating that one. If the cones, you should try to get cones that are pretty fresh. The cone that I got these out of may have been on the ground for a while, and if it's been there for several months or so, especially if it's being rained on, exposed to moisture, the nuts will start to spoil on the inside. They'll start to rot. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video as much as I did making it today. Please like, subscribe, and share, and get out there and do some foraging. Sample some of those wild edibles in your locale, and get acquainted with them and how to harvest and identify and sample some of what your area has to offer. I hope all of you are having an outstanding day or night, depending on where you're located, and I will see all of you very soon on the next one. Everybody take care. Bye-bye.